who have and continue to help in relief efforts. Together, we will build back better.
Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, the blueprints are prepared for a new spec building in London. How officials say this will help the economy.
And 3 Democratic lawmakers are facing expulsion from the Tennessee House of Representatives for their conduct during a protest. We'll have some new developments in the last hour.
And the cool and cloudy weather stuck around even as our storms have pushed out. However, sunshine on the way back as we head closer to Easter weekend. Tracking the latest coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts right now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley.
And I'm Olivia Calfee. The Kentucky Product Development Initiative, a state government collaboration that is helping fund industrial sites by matching local funding, awarded Laurel County $1.5 million to construct another spec building.
WYMT's Chandler Wilcox tells us how the grant money is another step for economic growth in the area.
The Lilly Industrial Park will be home to the 10th spec building in Laurel County. Officials with the local government say they will allow any business to personalize it to their standards.
If you have a spec building up and ready for that potential customer, that provides the speed to market. It takes a lot of preliminary steps out of the way.
Access to Interstate 75 is a big reason a 10th spec building is necessary for Laurel County. Funding that kind of project, however, is where the Kentucky Product Development Initiative is a big help.
This particular building is millions of dollars. Our organizations don't get that kind of funding, so this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, allowing this initiative to match a big part of that. It is a dollar-for-dollar program.
As new businesses bring in more families, there's a growing need for kid activities in the area. The London Children's Museum is opening July 1st.
We were like, why don't we have this closer to home? So we don't have any children's museum from London down to Knoxville and then London up to Lexington. And we were like, let's bring this home.
Still months before opening, the museum is already taking community interest by storm.
And my husband and I, we were like, oh, 5,000 square foot, we're gonna have a hard time filling that. And here we are still months before opening and we are maxed in space.
Maxed in space and maxed in excitement for the future. In Laurel County, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
The Children's Museum will be open every day except Monday. Children 1 year old or younger can get in for free.
We've seen a few showers throughout central Kentucky today, but outside of just that drizzly mist, not a whole lot on Pinpoint Doppler right now. As we head into portions of Pulaski County, maybe some showers on top of downtown Somerset. That's about it right now. Some of that heading toward I-75 there near Mount Vernon. And we were watching a shower up near the Mountain Parkway near Stanton. Not making much of a difference. The overcast still there, and it's made a difference in our temperatures today. 52 the current reading here in Hazard. Look at this, even cooler air in central Kentucky. 50 Monticello and Somerset, 48 in Irvin. Contrast that with where it's still 70 in Jonesville, Virginia. So this front is kind of taking its sweet time working on through the region. Your forecast first tonight, next 12 hours, we bring in the 40s as we at least break up the cloud cover a little bit during the overnight hours. Now, I'll have the latest on when that sunshine returns and how it's moving in, how it is moving in for Easter weekend coming up in a few minutes. Olivia?
Thank you, Evan. The Pentagon is defending how the 2021 troop withdrawal from Afghanistan was carried out.
National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby says the report presented to Congress concluded that the decision to end the ground operations in Afghanistan was correct. The Trump administration brokered a deal with the Taliban to remove U.S. troops by May of 2021, which President Biden pushed back to August. During the rush to evacuate people from Kabul's airport, a suicide bomber carried out an attack that killed 13 service members and about 170 Afghan civilians. The report found that evacuation should have started earlier, and the Pentagon acknowledged that as a lesson learned. Republican lawmakers in Tennessee have now expelled at least one of 3 Democratic lawmakers from the Tennessee House of Representatives. At last check, they were discussing a resolution to expel the second one.
They had accused the Democrats of disorderly conduct after they led chants from the House floor with gun control protesters days after a deadly shooting in Tennessee.
CBS's Skylar Henry reports.
With their arms raised, Democratic Representatives Justin Pearson, Gloria Johnson, and Justin Jones walked through a sea of supporters at the Tennessee State House. The Republican supermajority is preparing to vote to expel the 3 Democrats for leading a gun control protest on the House floor, just days after the deadly Nashville school shooting.
You, Representative Johnson, Representative Pearson, then began from the well shouting without recognition. Is that correct?
We began shouting after repeatedly being denied recognition.
The session began with Republicans introducing bills to address gun violence in schools, including adding armed officers to all schools.
We will pay for them with state dollars so that no community throughout this state has any excuse not to have armed security that is well trained.
The debate allowed the 3 Democrats to speak about the absence of gun control legislation.
Nowhere in this bill do I hear the word, or do I see the word, guns.
Representative Johnson is a former teacher who experienced a school shooting in 2008.
I just want to make sure that we're actually doing something different that's a solution, because I don't feel that with this piece of legislation.
The chamber gallery was filled with protesters holding signs. Outside, hundreds of students, teachers, and parents protested the expulsions.
All of Tennessee deserves representation, even the people you don't agree with.
Tennessee House rules allow for the appointment of interim representatives until the seats are filled in a special election. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Expulsions are very rare, both in Tennessee and in state legislative bodies around the country. Only 2 other House members have ever been booted from the Tennessee chamber since the Civil War.
At least 417 anti-LGBTQ bills have been introduced in state legislatures across the U.S. this year. Officials with the American Civil Liberties Union say that is a new record. It is already more than twice the number of such bills introduced last year. Education and healthcare related bills in particular are flooding in at unprecedented levels. 24 of more than 400 bills introduced this year have been signed into law in 11 states so far.
The National Institutes of Health reports in 2021 more than 80,000 Americans died from an opioid overdose. The White House has just started a new campaign to try to stop opioid abuse before it becomes an addiction. They are partnering with the Ad Council, launching a campaign to educate young people on the dangers of fentanyl and the life-saving effects of naloxone. These ads will be targeted to young people, including on social media. Rahul Gupta, the director of the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, says many young people are ordering drugs online, not realizing many are laced with fentanyl.
If you are getting any medications, prescription medications, without the prescription and not from a pharmacy, the likelihood of dying potentially from fentanyl poisoning is higher than playing Russian roulette with your life. It's very dangerous. At the same time, we're also telling young people that you can be helpful to others. You can carry naloxone.
Along with this, the White House says they are also focusing on expanding access to naloxone and launching other educational campaigns about the dangers of opioids.
An international sting led by the FBI has taken down one of the world's biggest online criminal marketplaces. Police arrested more than 100 alleged fraudsters here in the U.S. and across the globe. CBS's Tina Kraus has more.
Police launched raids around the world to nab suspected cyber criminals operating on a sophisticated darknet site known as Genesis Market.
For too long, criminals have stolen credentials from innocent members of the public.
Authorities say the site had 80 million sets of digital fingerprints for sale, letting fraudsters pay less than $1 to access passwords for Facebook, PayPal, Amazon, and eBay, allowing them to log into bank and shopping accounts. Anyone searching the site now will know it's been seized in a crackdown dubbed Operation Cookie Monster, referencing computer cookies Genesis was selling to help criminals impersonate genuine users.
We now want criminals to be afraid that we have their credentials, and they should be. And people today are getting a knock on their door very early in the morning.
Police arrested nearly 120 alleged scammers, some of them in the U.S., and investigations are ongoing. To avoid becoming a victim of fraud, experts suggest taking software updates on your phones and computers, choosing strong passwords, and where possible, using two-factor authentication, a security system that sends a text message with a one-time code before you can log in. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
U.S. Treasury officials believe the Genesis Market site was operated out of Russia. The FBI says losses for victims stretch in the tens of millions of dollars.
Tech company Microsoft and multiple hospital groups are now using a federal court order to help cut off cyber criminals' access to a hacking tool around the world. The federal court order allows Microsoft to cut off the communication between mainly Russian-speaking hackers and the bootleg version of the software used to get into a victim's network. Some of the attacks include forcing ambulances to be diverted or chemotherapy appointments to be canceled. Microsoft says the order will not eliminate the malicious use of the software, but will use the information seized from the hackers to go after other infrastructure they use. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, retirement healthcare expenses may not be at the top of your priority list, but experts say you'll need a significant amount to help with bills. What you need to know to be prepared.
And continuing to watch cool weather in the mountains this week, I've got the latest on the return of 70s. Disco not included. Coming up after this.
WYMT News app offers alerts on breaking stories as they happen, customized to the category.